Hours pass as Beck continues meditating in silence, imagining how the original Beck endured this painful process for years despite being labeled weak because of his mana leakage syndrome. Then, something finally changes. Beck senses that both his mana leakage skill and his teleportation ability have improved slightly. For the first time since arriving in this world, he feels genuine excitement. Every small improvement means he is moving one step closer toward surviving the future and eventually reaching the game's mysterious true ending. The following day, the students begin practical training involving artificial magic, elemental enchantments, wind manipulation, and combat exercises. These lessons take place inside Stella Academy's Dimensional Dome, a massive pocket dimension space capable of changing its terrain, size, and environment freely. The Academy uses these artificial dimensions for dungeon simulations, portal training, combat practice, and monster-related exercises. Because Stella Academy is so massive, the practical sessions combine students from multiple classes together. Around 50 students from Class A and 41 students from Class S participate in the same training area. Flame immediately notices something strange. In the original novel, Class S was only supposed to contain 40 students. That means someone unexpected has been added to the story. That extra person is Beck Uzel. This realization shocks her because Stellar Academy already has more than 10,000 first-year students, yet Beck somehow exists outside the story she remembers. For the first time, Flame begins wondering whether Beck had always existed in the original world without being mentioned, or whether something in the timeline has changed completely. Rather than rushing to conclusions, she decides to observe him carefully and slowly uncover the truth about who he really is. At the same time, she starts feeling isolated because she thought she was the only person in the world who truly understood the original novel and its future events. Before she can think further, the class preparations begin. The students gather around young Master Jeremy, who casually mentions that he has already completed his class registrations. Hearing this, many students immediately decide to join gentle magic research alongside him. Jeremy acts friendly and charming, claiming everyone will enjoy the subject together. However, Flame instantly recognizes him from the original story. Prince Jeremy was originally obsessed with Princess Assel and eventually became a dangerous villain after being rejected by her. Although he appears kind and elegant on the surface, nearly all of his actions are secretly calculated. Knowing this, Flame instinctively tries to keep her distance from him. Still, Jeremy notices her and waves with a warm smile. Flame reluctantly admits that he is handsome and charismatic, but she still cannot understand why so many people become fascinated by him. Among all the student groups gathered there, Princess Assel's circle attracts the most attention. Watching everything unfold, Flame realizes once again that this is no longer just a novel, it is now her real world. Because of that, she decides she must take control of her own future, instead of simply following the original story. Meanwhile, from a distance, Jeremy quietly continues observing Flame with great interest. Soon after, the combat magic professor begins the day's practical lesson. Before starting, he explains that the purpose of the training is to evaluate every student's current combat level so professors can properly manage their growth. He warns them that professors have the authority to increase or deduct points based on performance, and students whose scores drop too low can even be expelled from the academy. After the warning, the professor explains the exercise itself. The students will enter a simulated dungeon environment filled with real monsters, traps, and survival challenges. Defeating a Risk Level 1 monster earns 4 points. Risk Level 2 monsters give 8 points, while obtaining a rare point stick grants 20 points instantly. The top 5 students will receive rewards, while anyone who finishes with 0 points will face penalties. Students are allowed to form teams if they are afraid of fighting alone, but the points earned will be divided among all members. The professor also adds one final rule. Defeating another student allows you to steal their points as well. The moment he finishes explaining, the professor suddenly disappears. The students are shocked. Immediately afterward, the ground begins shaking violently as the dimensional dome activates. The environment transforms in seconds, turning into a gigantic jungle filled with massive trees, twisting vines, and dense wilderness. Students suddenly find themselves scattered throughout the forest-like dungeon. Flame quickly realizes that this practical exam is far more serious than she expected. At that moment, Jackie approaches her and asks whether she plans to complete the mission alone. Flame answers that she intends to work solo, because teaming up would force her to share points with others. Her friend immediately understands her reasoning. Flame is aiming for the highest score possible and has no intention of splitting rewards with anyone else. Flame tells her friend that they can form a team another time before the two separate. As she continues walking alone through the giant forest dungeon, she starts feeling as though other students are secretly mocking and imitating her behind her back. Even though nobody says anything directly, the pressure still lingers in her mind. Ignoring the uncomfortable feeling, she keeps moving forward alone. An hour passes as Flame continuously fights monsters using the power of her staff. The practical exam is far more exhausting than she expected, and she begins wondering when it will finally end. Suddenly, enormous vines burst out from the ground beneath her feet. She instantly casts a spell to escape. Stellar Academy's practical exams are dangerous, because even the environment itself can attack students. After surviving several encounters, Flame manages to collect 18 points. Through this, she realizes the huge difference between fighting alone and fighting as part of a team. Still, she decides to continue solo and search for more points. While moving deeper into the forest, she suddenly senses a strange presence nearby. At first, the figure hidden behind the trees seems almost monster-like, but after focusing carefully, she realizes it is another student. The fact that someone can hide their presence so perfectly surprises her. Flame herself is using the one with nature technique to erase her own presence, so she understands how difficult that level of concealment actually is. Her specialty magic revolves around binding, destruction, defense, and healing techniques, making ambushes especially effective for her. Thinking this is a perfect opportunity to test her magic, she prepares an attack. But when she looks more carefully, she realizes the hidden student is actually Beck Uzel. Flame notices that he is also wandering alone, meaning he must have rejected the students who tried forming groups with him earlier. She also notices that Beck already possesses a valuable point stick. Seeing this, Flame decides to challenge him directly. Using her staff, she creates several floating lights before condensing them into a high-speed light bullet spell. The distance between them is only around 15 meters, close enough that most students would never dodge the attack in time. The glowing projectile fires toward Beck at incredible speed. At the very last moment, however, Beck senses the danger and instantly teleports away, narrowly avoiding the attack. Flame is stunned. She never expected him to react that quickly or use teleportation with such precision at close range. The next moment, Beck completely vanishes from the surroundings, leaving Flame unable to track him. She cannot understand how he managed to cast a second-class teleportation spell so quickly under pressure. Then suddenly, Beck reappears directly behind her. Beck himself realizes that his improved mana leakage skill has strengthened his teleportation ability. His teleport range has now increased significantly, and the cooldown between uses has become much shorter. Still, he understands that fighting recklessly would be dangerous. His real goal is not first place, but securing at least 5th rank in the exam. The 5th place reward contains valuable ethereal roots capable of increasing both health and physical strength. Since the strongest students are already monopolizing the highest scores, Beck focuses on surviving smartly instead. As he retreats through the jungle, he suddenly encounters a group of hostile Class S students led by Raiden. Beck immediately recognizes him. Raiden is part of Jeremy's faction and has recently become popular within the academy. The group notices the point stick in Beck's possession and instantly assumes he obtained it unfairly. They already believe he cheated his way into Class S by solving only a few strange exam questions. Raiden mocks him openly, saying Stellar Academy's standards must have fallen badly if someone like Beck was admitted into the elite class. Then he demands that Beck hand over the point stick immediately. Beck refuses. Assuming resistance means weakness, Raiden attacks alongside his group. They mock Beck further, claiming he cannot possibly fight an entire team alone, especially without fully mastering his mid to high tier staff. Beck knows they are dangerous. With his current teleportation level, directly fighting them would be difficult. Still, he notices something useful: the point stick itself. Inside the dungeon, Beck suddenly extends the stick toward Raiden, as if surrendering it. Believing he has won, Raiden lowers his guard for a split second. That moment is enough. Beck instantly teleports directly in front of him and attacks at close range. The hit lands successfully. Before the group can react, Beck teleports again, appearing behind Raiden while stealing 2 additional point sticks in the process. Raiden becomes furious and demands his sticks back immediately. But Beck refuses. During his time playing the original game, Beck learned something most players never realized. Point sticks are practically bugged items. They possess absurd durability, resist magical destruction, and are strong enough to function as improvised weapons. For someone like Beck, who specializes in mobility and physical combat, they become extremely useful tools. The bullies cannot understand how he continues stealing items while teleporting around the battlefield. Enraged, Raiden orders everyone to capture him. At that exact moment, however, the dungeon terrain shifts again, distorting the battlefield and disrupting the group's coordination. The students try surrounding Beck with barriers and attack spells to stop his escape. But Beck's years of player versus player combat experience give him a massive advantage. He uses the terrain perfectly, disappearing through blind spots and avoiding every trap. As the chaos intensifies, one of the students attempts a dangerous lightning spell. Beck appears at the perfect moment and attacks again with the point stick, forcing the spellcaster to lose control of the magic. The failed spell backfires violently. A magical ricochet explodes through the battlefield, sending lightning crashing down onto the group itself. While the bullies are struck by their own attack, Beck calmly teleports away from the center of the explosion. When the smoke clears, he is the only one still standing. Beck casually takes the final point stick from Raiden's hand and jokes that maybe he will give it to his future girlfriend someday. Furious and humiliated, Raiden desperately demands the sticks back, but Beck simply walks away, leaving the entire group defeated behind him. He decides to take it because Hassel will be there and then teleports out of Delivis' sight. Raiden gets angry and uses his magic to vanish. While a girl watches from a distance, Beck walks happily through the forest, knowing he's hit the jackpot by stealing the sticks. If it were a normal fight, he would be robbed, but everything was different from being in a dungeon. Then, he felt a strange sensation from somewhere that disturbed him. A fireball formed on the horizon behind Bikojil, and suddenly it falls on Forest, setting the entire surrounding area ablaze. The fireball destroys everything, leaving him in shock. However, he manages to dodge it with his magic. He is unhurt, but destruction and blaze almost catch him. He thinks this ability is a human coming out of the smoke. He grabs the staff. A woman approaches and asks him why he didn't take the remaining sticks from Bullet. The girl turns out to be Hangbayan, whom he recognizes and wonders why she came there and did this. Why did he cast the spell? He says he misunderstood and that he didn't take the stick because he couldn't, and it's none of his business. It's like she was just waiting to pick up all the sticks so she could steal them all from our main character's hands at once. He reminds her that he's been teaching her classes for the past few days. Hung retorts that she has royal blood. She then calls him back for a duel because taking things from a commoner wouldn't be fair to him. Our protagonist says that robbing someone as weak as him wouldn't be fair to him either. To which Hank replies, He realizes from the start that he's been playing with those bulges, and has managed to defeat them without using proper magic. Bayan needs to hurry, so he can find his way back to his homeworld. She wants to avoid trouble with Madara, and needs points quickly. She then starts hearing people talking in the distance. Some people are saying that Baekuzil is running away, and thinking he wonders where he's going. Hang recognizes that it's the voice of Raiden's group, and that he's actually running away without even realizing it. She wonders if he should have seen them. She should attack them. But she knows that even she would be difficult to defeat 6 people alone. So she thinks it's better to wait for them to finish their fight. Then when they're tired, she'll steal all the sticks at once. That's when she sees our protagonist bully her from behind. She notices that he doesn't use any magic other than teleportation to attack his enemies, even though they are weaker than him. But they grew up in elite and middle-class families. She realizes that if Baek can play with them, he's very strong. So she decides it will take all her power to burn. Then she summons her strong guest fire magic, and throws it straight at our hero. She makes a very agile jump. He dodges Princess Hong's fire magic. But a forest fire begins to spread, forcing him to be even more nimble. He realizes that Princess Hong's magic is dangerous. But she's already trained her intuition for such situations. However, using 2 teleport spells seems difficult. He thinks of another way. Hung Byun asks if he won't use his wand. Baek says he stole her wand. To which Hung replies he'll have the basic vests the academy provides. Our protagonist forgot it. But he did receive one at the entrance ceremony, which he'll use. He doesn't like it. Hyung starts to get irritated because the commoner keeps playing the same game and gets on her nerves. Princess about the other participants, she stops thinking and decides to go all out against Baek, even though she's already put everything into this fight. Nevertheless, she decides to push her limits. Hung will no longer use magic because her anger alone is enough to destroy the boy. They stand facing each other, with the forest burning behind them. Hung Bayan decides to destroy this corner once and for all. Her magic flames are directed towards the boy. The flames grow, startling him. They pass by him, but he ducks to the side. As he moves past magic, the fire intensifies and engulfs him. He realizes that even a slight delay would have been the end of him. The fire spreads, and he knows that no matter how he dodges, the attack's range is too great. He begins to think what to do. Then he hears a distinct voice, and he notices that there's something behind him that he could use right now. He immediately teleports to the place where the flames cannot reach. The moment he leaves his position, a powerful fire hits him. Our protagonist understands he thought he was lucky this time, but next time he might not. Even if he got close to Hung, the fire around him would explode as soon as he got close. Baek knows this from losing to fire class majors countless times. This means Princess Hyung Bayan is stronger than anyone thought. If the arena were open, he would have lost this battle in less than a minute. In fact, he can't even call it a fight because he's simply teleporting away. Homing fire bursts come straight for Baekuzil. But he's not going to stand still and do nothing, as she's thinking. Then he jumps and dodges the exploding fire. He starts running, leaving a trail behind him, and doesn't stop while the fire bursts keep chasing him. He notices that he can see each fire burst individually. When they approach him, Baek deflects their trajectory with his weapon. It seems impossible to Hung Byun, but it's his last chance. It's a survival strategy. Over time, our protagonist's senses begin to dull, because playing a game through a screen feels different from fighting a battle in front of you. Everything seems more vivid. He feels the flow of mana as if he could hold it in his hands. His sixth sense to see and hear becomes more familiar, and he uses it to deflect attacks with his weapon. This tree-filled area is especially beneficial to him because his fire attribute. However, he will need to cast even stronger magic to defeat Baekuzil, who is currently constantly running and advancing, dodging the flames. Instead of staying defensive, he wants to break through Hung's shield using magic battles. At which point he races back to her, looking through the fire shield surrounding her. As soon as he spots an opening, he charges with all his might. He sprints and tries to hit her. He uses his teleport and smashes right through Fire Princess's barrier, leaving her in shock. She remains calm. As soon as she sees an enemy within her shield, she prepares a spell. This is a skill for Fire class bishops, which can fire at a range of approximately 2 meters and explodes in a radius. Instead of panicking, our protagonist smiles slightly, having experienced this many times, and immediately takes a big step back to get out of the spell's range. He then stomps on the girl's magic sphere with his foot. He strikes, causing her magic barrier to crack and eventually break completely. Hung Bien is shocked and falls back as the barrier shatters. The protagonist looks her up and down and says he won the fight. The princess asks who he is, to which Beck replies that he's just a normal student. Then he tells the person hiding behind the tree to come out. Just then, Flame emerges from behind the tree. Flame says she wasn't hiding and asks how he knew she was there. Our protagonist says it's intuition. It's actually a kind of sixth sense. It's a sensor that detects mana leakage. Flame isn't too sure about the intuition, but she lets the conversation continue. Then she asks how he broke the princess's magic shield with the scoring stick. She asks if he did it by intuition too. The hero realizes it's a bug and avoids telling the truth. He explains that the stick is very sophisticated. But Flame says that such a hit cannot break the magic shield. Flame asks why ordinary knights from this world disappeared, and she has no answer. She's always been suspicious of Becuzal, and now she's asking him directly who he really is. Our protagonist becomes tense and thinks this might be the end, and he hasn't even been here a month. He decides he will only tell the real truth if Flame does him a favor, because it is risky. Even if she has doubts, he's not as bad as she thinks. The girl doesn't understand, but he says he really wants to help her. Flame doesn't understand that helping her will change her life. What do you mean? Then he starts to walk away, saying he doesn't have time to talk right now, because he just needs to quietly disappear. Then Hung Bien throws her scoring sticks toward the head of the teleport table. She says he's dodged the spells and traps, so it seemed he would grab his sticks too. Granted, sensitivity to leaks has its limits, and he knew there was nothing he could do. Sensitivity is mental strength, and she is having a severe headache from exhaustion, which is exacerbated by the throwing of items. The princess says that since she lost to Beck, he can take her sticks. Our hero understands that if he takes them all, his ranking will be very high, and the remaining items will be of no use to him. He picks up the sticks from the ground anyway, and decides to take just one, keeping the rest for her. He then leaves, saying goodbye to the girls. Deep down, he thinks that showing kindness even after defeating an enemy is an admirable attitude. But the girls think that he's a complete idiot who left the sticks behind, and is a stupid commoner. Both girls constantly wonder about Becuzal's true identity. Meanwhile, 3 people are looking at a holographic map. They are teachers who are observing students' performance in practical tests and notice that this year, Class S has truly remarkable students. A magical elder and Blue Tower advisor says watching the matches has been incredibly enjoyable. Everyone from the Guild of Magical Elders to the Blue Tower Council has gathered to watch the freshman training. They're trying to recruit talent, and many teachers are also attending this practical training. He is monitoring the clash. While watching, he discovers that Huang has collided with Mi Yujiang. The two begin a fight, casting spells with their wands. But at the age of 17, Mayuja was consistently using Class 3 power leaps to reach high speeds across all the worlds. The spells start to dodge. Usually it takes a mage 20 years to reach 3rd class, but Ma did it at 17. They've mastered it. Magical advisors can't believe it. After all, both command 3 types of elemental attributes. Usually, a mage commands only one attribute control, and mastering 2 elements requires considerable training. But mastering 3 attributes requires exceptional talent from birth. There's a sign. Suddenly, the magical combat professor is startled when he sees something. A giant black phoenix appears on the battlefield. The secret boss appears. He lets out a loud scream and flies over the two strong students. Then the giant creature falls to the ground, completely defeated. Behind him stands a girl holding a staff, interrupting and apologizing for defeating the monster. The magical combat professor realizes the student is Asura. A secret boss is a hidden event that unlocks high-level abilities. It appears upon impact. Defeating such a large monster alone shouldn't be easy, but she did it with ease. The elders wonder if her father could have gone even further if it weren't for the traitor Archduke Moth. The majors watch Princess Adelabet fight and realize they have never seen her opponent before. But they are astonished when they discover his spell, called Flash's Pride. For centuries, many scholars have tried to control this ability, but they all failed and eventually died or gave up. This is because it's a form of magic considered completely impossible to control. Yet, the student controls Flash like extensions of his legs and arms, and everyone finds him very impressive. Everyone wonders if a guy like him really exists. The professor says his name is Bikoziel. He's a very unique student who uses Flash as his specialty. He's among the top 3 abstract talents in Class S. It's a completely different problem. They ask why he's turning into a flower instead of using other magic, because if he did, the duel would have ended long ago. Then someone confirms that he's really fighting seriously. It turns out to be Elman Alvin. The man in the outfit says he's been fighting seriously from the start of the fight, and it's very interesting. His fighting style reminds him of the knights of old. This refers to the knights of the Shiovalic order, who disappeared along with bladed weapons. This confuses everyone because he is still a very young student. It is inspired by the spirit of knights who fought with swords even in a magical world. Since ancient times, heroes have fought against evil to save the world, and it is said that they always fought with swords in their hands. Although magic exists, sword fighting is not practical. Yet this student uses the wand in the same manner. If Elman Alvin's assumption is correct, he is the headmaster of the academy, which is considered the best magic school in the world. 9th class master, he is a major figure and one of the continent's 10 greatest mages. When such a great mage thinks so, others tend to agree. The first dungeon training is over, and everyone returns to the facilities. Some students are practicing their magic on Star Odom, like Hai Wyang, who feels that her mind is almost exhausted. So he decides he needs to save up because the practical test is still a long way off. 39 out of 140 students have already been eliminated. Isle takes first place after defeating the boss monster, and Beck comes in second place. The genius Ma Yuxian comes in 6th, and our protagonist doesn't feel triumphant. He knows that if Asel hadn't interfered at that moment, he would have died. If she hadn't defeated the boss, he might have been able to defeat Emma. It's always been like this since the first time he met the prodigy. She's always calm and relaxed, but the results always exceed expectations. During this training, he placed magic runes at strategic locations and carefully calculated his movements. But Emma easily blocked all of his attacks. He wonders if he'll ever be able to defeat her, and whether it's even possible to break through the barrier of talent. He realizes that he is weaker than the prodigy, but decides to stop blaming himself and work harder. At the same time, Princess Hei Riang watches him train with a hateful expression and growing tension. Suddenly, she stops next to him and burns the straw dummy with fire magic. Her flames completely destroy the training dummy, and the purple-haired boy stops and looks at Hung Hung is frustrated with coming third because of the point sticks. Her mother was furious, and if she didn't take back the stick she had given away, she would be punished. In anger, she continues blasting magic in the training area. Huang wonders what's wrong with the princess that she's so angry. He thinks it might be an illusion, but her magic is more precise than last time. The princess's fire magic is so destructive that subtle control is considered nearly impossible. Yet, she seems to have improved in such a short time. Beck's special lessons are actually having an effect. His magical abilities have improved significantly as he shifts his focus away from trivial questions. Even though in his eyes he's still lowborn and has an irritating personality, Hung believes he's the only one who knows how to fix her flaws. She remains irritated. Then Turvon arrives and says that the staff upgrade is complete. She then goes to inform student Becky Uzel. Just then, the princess grabs her shoulder and stops her from going to the protagonist. Hung goes to Stellar Academy's second main tower on her own, because she wants to find Beck near the professor's laboratories. But she regrets it, because it feels like she's chasing a commoner. She considers going back, but then someone recognizes her and calls out to her. Professor Hamill meets her after a long time. The professor once taught her magic at the palace, and now she is much older. She says she came to Stellar Academy for some work, and is now leaving. The academy is very hectic today, so it's best to leave quickly. Magical officers are searching for a student named Beekle. The princess is shocked to hear this. She leaves, and the professor learns that Horn confronted him and discovered that he doesn't use magic. Horn becomes sad because she feels she lost her most admired rival. She says she doesn't want to blame herself because the commoner was trying his best, and she accepts her defeat. But the professor says he didn't use magic and still won because of his conviction. She explains that the director arranged a practice session after seeing this student, and believed he was trying to bring back the knights of old. Hung Bien doesn't understand the teacher's idea of ancestral knights because during the fight, he used a pointed stick as if it were a sword. She believes it was similar to the magic swords of the ancient knights. At a magic academy, not using magic in the practical test should bring a higher penalty. This means he deliberately chose this path, even after receiving impressive feedback like Flash's praise. He continues to challenge himself. It's not hard to imagine that this is the boy's true conviction. His dream of becoming a knight is often met with ridicule, and Hung wonders why anyone in this era would want to become a knight. She realizes that he truly wants to become one. She remembers how she even told him not to bother her during the fight, and became very angry. Beck then finds the girl, and she is idyllic roots, eating the 5th place prize. She says she didn't come there because of him, and then gives the Terry War Equus to our protagonist. The intangible sword is there, and he was right to ask the princess for help, because he couldn't buy it with his own money. Our protagonist is left with the box, containing a magic sword with extraordinary abilities. The girl sees the commoner's excitement, and asks if he really doesn't use any other magic. The hero is confused by the question, and the girl leaves without hearing the answer. While thinking, he remembers that Professor Lee also talked about not using other magic. Beck doesn't understand people's talk about his convictions and heart. After receiving the magic sword, he thinks in the teleporter that he'll handle the next episode easily. So he decides to test the sword right away. Holding Tarvon in his hand, he begins injecting mana into it, and the results are surprising. The sword grows larger, and begins to emit a brighter light. Our protagonist realizes this is better than he expected, because the sword is so large and bright. He thinks if flame were in his hands, it would be even more colorful, as his presence is truly special. He is a man who has mastered the magic of elves, dwarves, and angels simultaneously. The staff constantly drains the user's energy, so not everyone can use it. The flame regenerates mana from natural energy, and is used as a finishing blow. He doesn't have mana, and even if he absorbs it, leaks don't allow him to store it. Mana concentration and his breathing determine the power of Terran strikes. So he opens his attribute and status table, and checks it. He sees that his strength, agility and senses have all increased at magical power leakage level 2. He notes that the 5th place prize for the practical activity was a bag of roots that increased his strength. Now that he has this weapon, gaining experience will be easier. So Beck decides to train in swordsmanship as well, and he knows he'll be busy from now on. Starting today, the professor says they'll practice real defensive magic in class. Defensive magic instructor Byron asks everyone to take staves with magical shields. He notices that the class has excellent students, and it was good to separate them by level. Then he sees our protagonist, the famous poor origin student from Class S. The boy had just resonated with a high-level staff and came fifth in the training. This irritates the teacher, who asks why he isn't doing anything in class. Baig replies that he's learning other defensive techniques and doesn't need basic spells. Barian becomes both curious and irritated about his defensive techniques. It turns out that a commoner shouldn't be capable of that. He's heard that the boy doesn't use any magic other than teleportation, so he asks him to demonstrate his personal defense techniques. His opponent will be a pink-haired agent from Class B. Connections are essential to remaining a defense instructor, which is why he chose Scalbin from the Empire's Morso family. If there is a significant gap in the duel against the S-class student, it would benefit him greatly. At the same time, the two face off on stage. Morso Dowden is laughing while our protagonist looks serious and slightly troubled. Everyone is rooting for the noble boy to defeat the commoner Beck Uzel. Our hero notices that Yusuf and Raiden's group are also there. Magic wasn't used in this mandatory class, so he wasn't doing anything before, but now he has to fight. He's known Professor Birian's classes since he was a first year, so he decides to take the fight seriously and test the results of his training. The duel will consist of 2 turns of attack and defense, and they won't use any other magic. Morsidon begins the attack and holds his staff in his hand. Everyone is confident of the noble's victory because he uses aggressive earth magic, which is difficult to defend against. The teacher calls for the duel to begin, and immediately the rich kid, second-tier earth magic is invoked. The rule was that only first-tier spells could be used. Everyone wonders whether the commoner boy will be able to survive this attack. Morso unleashes dirt and stone-piercing magic toward our protagonist. Upon seeing the magic coming from the front, he activates the Terran and uses his magic sword to cut through the enemy's spell. He completely breaks the noble's magic as if it were nothing. Everyone stares in shock, and the noble is astonished that a single slash made his magic disappear. No one expected a slash would make a spell vanish like that. The defense teacher realizes that Bikoziel truly dissipated the enemy's magic. Every spell involves a flow of mana, and cutting it at the right point will destroy the spell. Our protagonist performs this with remarkable ease. Currently, he can only cut Class 3 spells, but Beck believes the training was worth it and wants to continue helping Terry. The noble can still continue the fight using venerability. The noble becomes terrified and angry because a commoner destroyed his magic. He knows that Professor Barian will also be furious if Morso Darden loses. The rich boy admits Beck's defense is impressive and says that this technique can only block one attack at a time. There are limits to it. If multiple attacks strike at once, the commoner won't be able to defend himself. A malicious smile appears on his face. Our protagonist becomes irritated because the enemy keeps talking loudly. Then he sees several attacks coming toward him. His opponent conjures multiple mana rocks from his wand and launches them forward. The people watching the duel wonder if this is too much and fear the other student might get seriously hurt. Everyone watches as the spell is cast with an evil smile. The teacher should stop the fight, but the stone-piercing spell rushes directly toward the teleport platform. Our protagonist is terrified when he sees the magical stones flying toward him. A total of 11 stones are launched at him, and there is no time to teleport or cut them individually. So he has to block them all, and that's exactly what he attempts to do with the Terrarian sword. When the commoner Beck Uzel blocks them all, the noble becomes irritated because his best spell was easily destroyed, and the enemy used only a sword to stop it. The teacher is also angry because if Morso loses, he'll be blamed as well. Our protagonist uses ventilation, a technique he learned from another game back in 2015, and surprisingly it works. It takes a huge amount of strength to maintain Taravan's form, which is why he becomes exhausted afterward. Furthermore, the defense weakens after a single attack, making it ineffective in a real battle, so he'll only use it for training. The students notice that it resembles a magic shield and wonder how he developed such a defense. Meanwhile, the rich boy becomes even more irritated because he feels he is about to lose the fight. Publicly humiliated by a commoner, he starts casting another spell. His attack turn is already over, yet he still prepares another spell and shouts that he won't let this go. Furious, he swears to destroy Beck once and for all. Just then, Jeremy arrives and catches the professor's attention. Becky Ussel must now take his turn attacking. The students realize this is no longer a simple first-year duel, and someone could seriously get hurt.